Hello, welcome to U.S. History class. This week, your assignment was to watch Casablanca. You can thank me later. Casablanca was made in 1942, just after the United States got involved in World War II. The United States officially becomes a part of the war after the Japanese attack Pearl Harbor, which is in Hawaii, which at that time was still a territory of the United States. December 6th, 1941, a day that will live in infamy, as President Roosevelt said of that day. This movie is set before that. This movie is set in 1941, when the United States has not gotten involved in the war. And the reasons that the United States has not gotten involved in the war is, one, another world war in Europe? No, we're done. We don't want to go fight more wars in Europe. Let them fight it out amongst themselves. And two, there were a fair amount of people in the United States who supported the Nazis, who were anti-Semitic themselves. Anti-Semitic are people who hate Jewish people. Just cut to the chase. So there was a dilemma: do we get involved in the war? This movie is about that dilemma: do we get involved in the war? And it's represented in the character of Rick, played by Humphrey Bogart. The movie takes place in Casablanca, which is, as the movie describes, in northern Africa. It is run by the French. It's a colony, because again, colonies are a big part of this war as well. After the Nazis had taken over France, they installed a new government, the Vichy government. And the Vichy government were collaborators with the Nazis. They worked with them. They rounded up Jews and put them on trains and sent them off to Germany. They supported the German war effort. On the other side of the collaborators, you had the resistance. The resistance were people who refused to help the Nazis and fought actively against them, working with the Allies, committing acts of sabotage. Sabotage is sabotage is a great word. Sabotage comes from the word sabot, S-A-B-O-T, which means a wooden shoe. Why does sabotage come from a wooden shoe? It's because workers in Holland would take their wooden shoes and throw them into the gears of machines to break the machines. And so that was an act of sabotage. It is when you are fighting against something, you want to make something stop through unorthodox means. The movie is not just important because it is about World War II, but it also, like, in terms of American culture, in terms of U.S. culture, this is one of those, like, classic Hollywood movies in which you will hear people still today quote from the movie, and so enjoy the movie. It's romance, it's adventure, it's comedy, it's music, it's everything. It's so great. And the cast. Let me talk real quickly about the cast. Our lead actor is Humphrey Bogart, who was in all kinds of detective movies, and he was always a hard-boiled, tough guy. This is the movie that made him a sex symbol. According to Humphrey Bogart, the reason he became a sex symbol is that his co-star, Ingrid Bergman, looked longingly into his eyes. And the audience was like, oh, if Ingrid Bergman thinks that he's sexy, then he must be sexy. Ingrid Bergman also was in another movie about the Nazis called Notorious, in which her character has to go through the dilemma: do I fight against the Nazis? And I would highly recommend that movie as well. Really good. Other actors in this movie include Claude Rains as the Vichy police captain, who is utterly amoral, has no sense of right or wrong. He'll do whatever. Dooley Wilson plays Sam, sings the song As Time Goes By. That song, again, you will hear that today in the States, and people will go, ah, oh, Casablanca. Apparently, he was his role in this movie was so popular amongst African Americans that in some African American cinemas, they would show the movie and then afterwards show just the sections that he was in it as a special for its audience. At this time in Hollywood movies, black actors played maids, played butlers, were there for comic relief, and here was a character who was his own character and was treated with respect, and so he was it was a very popular role in the African American community. Other actors include Peter Lorre. Peter Lorre's so good. He ended up being in lots of horror movies later in his life. He was a refugee from Europe. He fled Germany when Hitler came to power, as did many other actors in this movie, including Madeleine LeBeau, who is crying while they were singing La Marseillaise. That scene in which they all sing La Marseillaise, all those extras, all those different actors in it, a lot of them were from Europe. A lot of them had just fled Europe, just fled the Nazis, and they were now in a movie about how they should fight the Nazis. In that scene in which they sing the French national anthem, La Marseillaise, you see all the actors crying because they're singing the song. And apparently that was not written into the script. The director did not say, okay, now I want you all to cry. They all just started crying because they were so moved. They didn't know what was going on when they were making this movie. They didn't know that the Allies would win. And the world at that point was like, the Nazis might take over. They might win. They were winning at this time. And so it's filled with all these actors who had fled from Europe. Madeleine LeBeau, the woman, her husband was Jewish, and they had to get out of France as quickly as they could. Anything else you need to know about this movie? No, it's beautiful. It will make me cry. I'm going to watch it again for the umpteenth time, and I will cry, as I always do when they sing the Marseillaise. That scene, I get choked up every time. It is. This is a piece of propaganda. This movie. It's a beautiful piece of propaganda, and it works. Enjoy the movie. Your assignment is to write simply a page about what you've thought about the movie. A page, not just, fill up a sheet about favorite characters. What do you think about Rick, our lead character, and his dilemma? Does he get involved or does he not get involved? Do you think he made the right decision, or do you think he should? Or I'm not going to tell you what the decision is. Anyways, that is it. Enjoy the movie.